I have to say, I never thought I'd be making a video where I say drunken parade of giant penises, but, well, here we are. Dionysia! We're talking about the festival, not the plant, named for the Greek god Dionysus, who was the god of the grape harvest, winemaking, wine, orchards and fruit, vegetation, fertility, insanity, ritual madness, religious ecstasy, festivity, and theater. Yeah, he had quite the range there. It started off as a rural festival in Eleuthera, Attica, most likely as a festival to celebrate winemaking or something along those lines, and we're not sure how far back it went, possibly predating the creation of Dionysus himself. Rural Dionysia, as it was known to separate it from the city version, don't worry, we'll get to that, was held during the winter month of Poseidon, which ran roughly from partway through December to partway through January on modern calendars. Now, a big part of the festivities was the pomp or procession, basically a parade, where people danced and drank and carried phalloi, which were giant penises. So yeah, it was a drunken parade of giant penises. Also being carried were baskets, loaves of bread, other offerings to the god, jars of water, and jars of wine. After the pomp procession was over, contests were held for singing and dancing, as well as choruses, who would sing stories about Dionysus known as dithyrambs. It's believed by some that these dithyrambs were the basis for theatrical tragedies, and often these also included the use of aulos, which were a type of double flute. Many festivals also included dramatic performances of comedies and tragedies, often used in plays that were produced in the City Dionysia the previous year. Also, not all rural Dionysia festivals were held at the same time, so if one wanted, they could tour the countryside and visit several of them per season. The City Dionysia, or the City Dionysus, was the urban version of the festival, possibly established in the 6th century BC. It was believed to be held from the 6th to the 16th of the month of Elaphebolion, which was part of the modern months of March and April, typically about 3 months after the country version, and was more of a harvest festival. Now, according to tradition, the festival was established after Eleuthera had chosen to become part of Attica. The Eleutherians brought a statue of Dionysus to Attica's capital, Athens, which the Athenians rejected. Because of this, Dionysus punished them with a plague affecting the male genitals, which was cured when the Athenians accepted the cult of Dionysus. This was the reason given for why they carried phalloi. The pomp was more or less the same: baskets of offerings, drinking, giant penises, but they also carried a large statue of Dionysus along the way, as well as a rather large phalloi, and the procession ended at the theater of Dionysus. Often they also carried weapons to show Athens' strength, and included bulls that would later be sacrificed to purify the theater and cooked for a feast. At the theater, the dithyramb contest was held. Usually they were pretty competitive and included the best poets and musicians in Greece. And after the contest and the feast, there came the homos, which was another procession, but was more about drunkenness, and men and women would often change clothes with each other, or they wore costumes that included masks. It may also be the origin of the word comedy. The next day, the plays were announced and judges chosen, and the remaining days were made up of performances, with the winners being decided and announced on the final day, where another pomp was held to close out the festival. Oh, and it's believed that Thespis introduced the tragedy at a City Dionysia festival in 534 BC, and that his prize was a goat, which kind of makes sense considering that the goat was a symbol of Dionysus, and the fact that tragedy literally means goat song. And yeah, that's kind of where modern theater comes from. Like and subscribe.